In this video, we'll be learning how to cut this underbust corset with keyhole neckline. Hi lovelies, my name is Uluwatosin in case you are coming across my channel for the first time, and you're welcome. To all my returning subscribers, you're also welcome. Thank you so much guys for always stopping by my channel. Thanks for always coming back to watch my videos. So like I said earlier, in today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to cut this underbust corset with keyhole neckline. In my previous video, a video I uploaded before this particular one, I made a comprehensive and detailed tutorial on how to cut and sew this skirt. And I mentioned that in my next video, I'm going to be uploading how to cut the top, which is the underbust corset with keyhole neckline. But because I don't want it to get too lengthy, this video is just going to talk about how to cut alone. And then the next one I'll be uploading after this by God's grace will be how to stitch all these pieces together. So right here is the outcome of the skirt and the top. If this sounds like what you're interested in, come along with me and let's jump right into the video. So right here are my panels after cutting on my pattern paper and transferring to my main fabric. These are my front panels and the underbust corset, and this is also my back panels after cutting on my pattern paper and transferring to my main fabric. So right here is my pattern paper and I have my lines drawn on it already. This is my chest point, and then the next one is my bust point line. Next one is my under bust. The next one is my half length and then my full length. Because this is an inbuilt corset, the full length has to be 25 or 24 for a short person. So after marking all of this out on the under bust point, you are going to measure your nipple to nipple divided by 2. I added half-inch allowance. Then from the bust point, you mark it down to the whole length of your pattern paper. Now on my half length, I'm going to go forward with 1 inch and then go backward with 1 inch. Then on the full length, I went forward with half-inch and then backward with half-inch. Then I'm just going to be connecting this point together. For this dress, we are going to be using our simple dart. We are not using any complicated or too serious dart. We're just going to be marking out our normal dart. Then the next thing is I'm trying to mark out my shoulder now. This person's shoulder is 15 divided by 2, 7.5. By added half-inch allowance, I marked it. Then connect the line to the chest line. Then I'm trying to mark out the shoulder slope. I went down with half-inch. You can use one. The next thing is to mark the neckline. For the neckline, I used 3 by 3, neck width of 3, neck depth of 3. Considering that it is a turtleneck, the neck should not be too wide, so I just used 3 by 3. Then I proceeded to drawing the neckline, and then I slanted my shoulder. Then I drew my armhole curve with my French curve, and the next thing to do after this is to start transferring the basic measurements into my pattern. So on the bust point, I'll be measuring the bust. I'm not adding any allowance to my pattern paper. I'll be adding it to my main fabric. Then the waistline, I measured the waistline divided by 4. I added the 2 inches allowance that I'm going to be removing as the dart. And on the full length, I measured a hip divided by 4. I added 1 inch allowance that I'm going to be cutting out as the dart. Then I'll proceed to connecting all these points together. Don't forget I said I'm not adding any allowance at this point. It is when I'm transferring to my main fabric that I'll be adding whatever allowance that I want to add. So after doing this, the next thing is to cut out my pattern. So I proceeded to cutting it out, but I'll not cut out my dart yet because I'll be needing this front panel to cut the back panel. So I'm just going to place this on a fresh pattern paper and trace it out. So anything that will differ is the neck depth. The neck width is still going to be the same, it's just the depth that will differ. So for back neck depth, I used 1, unlike front that I used 3. For the back, I used neck width of 6, that's 3 on fold of 2, and then the neck depth, I proceeded to using 1. Then mark out your neckline. It's going to be around neck at this point, definitely. After this, I measured the chest point I used for the front, which happens to be 7. I measured 7 on the back panel as well. I connected that into a straight line. And because This dress is not going to have zip at the back. It's going to have eyelets instead of zip. On the chest line that you have marked, mark 3 inches and then mark 4 inches. And for the 3 inches, you are going to connect it to the whole length of the dress. You will slant your line just like I'm placing my ruler. And if you want to make it straight, it's fine. It depends on how you want the shape to be at that side of the back. Then from the neckline, go downward with 3 inches and mark that point. So you are going to be connecting the 4 inches to the 3 inches you just measured, and you proceed to cutting this out. This is me trying to bring out the yoke and trying to cut out the excess at the back where the eyelet is going to be. After cutting it out, keep the back panel aside, bring back the front panel, and now from the chest line, you are going to go downward with 2 inches. This depends on how exposed you want the bust or the cleavage to be. So on that side, I went upward with 1.5 inch. Now I'm going to be drawing an arc that is going to touch the under bust from that point to the 1.5 that I measured. I hope that is clear. So after drawing the arc, I'm going to go inward on my chest line by 2 inches. Like I said, this depends on how exposed you want that part to be. You can go by 2, by 3. It depends on how exposed you want it to be. And then you're going to draw an arc. I first used my free hand. I discovered that the hack is not hacking. So I had to use my curved ruler to draw the hack. Then I proceeded to cutting it out. So after cutting it out, this is what my pattern looks like. Don't forget that I'm still going to hold that on my main fabric. And then you cut out your dart. The next thing after this is to start transferring all of this to my main fabric. But before then, I'm going to label the C means center and the S means side. So on my fabric is on fold of two. You know, the side has to be two for front, one for left and one for right. I added 1.5 inch allowance to the shaping side, and then I proceeded to cutting it out. On the other side, I added half-inch allowance for attaching to the middle. The middle now is on fold of two as well. I added half-inch allowance just for joining it to the side. For the back, I cut out as well. I added 1.5 inch allowance to the sewing side, and then I marked the wrong side of the fabric from the right side of the fabric. I placed this on my chantilly lace as well. This lace is called chantilly lace. I proceeded to cutting it out, adding half-inch all around my pattern. Then I placed the back yoke panel on the lace, and then I added half-inch allowance all around the panel, and then I cut it out. Now, the person I'm making this dress for is a fair skin, like she's fair in complexion. So I'm going to be using a crepe that is meant for a light skinned person as the lining for this chantilly lace. So I'm just going to place the lace on the crepe and cut out the exact same thing. No allowance. I'll be cutting for front for the under bust corset, and then I'll be cutting for the yoke at the back. So after cutting it out, I proceeded to cutting lining for the panels for front and then for the back. I added my interfacing on my main fabric, and then I added interfacing on my lining as well. As it stands, we are done cutting. The next thing is to start sewing. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about how to sew all these pieces together step by step. And when I was done sewing, this is the outcome. Watch out for my next video where we are going to be talking about the sewing of this underbust keyhole neckline top. And don't forget, I said that I have a detailed video on how I made this skirt, which I will put in the link in the description box and also somewhere at the beginning of this video. Thank you so much for sticking with me from the beginning till this point. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comment section. If this video has been helpful or interesting, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you are watching and you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe, and don't just subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you get notified when next I upload new video on this channel. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.